Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to 3Y TV. Tonight's Broad All Star Showdown here tonight with some All Stars in this race. I'm Peter Short. Joining me in the booth is Greg Rentz. And Greg, we got some drivers you don't typically see in the American Sim Racing Series here tonight, and it is going to be pretty awesome.
It's going to be very, very fun, Peter, to watch this race because, like you mentioned, two very special guests in the field tonight, including Daytona NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series winner from 2019, Austin Hill, is in the field tonight. And following him one spot behind in practice right now is the number 15 Christian Eckes, actually number 81. He's number 15 in the server, but he's driving the number 81 out there tonight. The 2019 ARCA Menards Series champion Christian Eckes and Daytona truck winner Austin Hill, along with a couple of other wins throughout the course of the year last year. A couple of very special guests, but Peter, that's not to take away from the normal ASRS All Star drivers, because on top of the charts, are you at all surprised to see Greg Evans leading the way right now?
Yeah, of course, that number 83, Greg Evans, getting the win earlier this week already in the ASRS Series and the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series on Tuesday nights here on 3Y TV. But you can't forget a couple of the other people that we have in tonight's race. Alex Pelican, one of the Arc of Venturini Motorsports guys, and Nick Gardner, one of the Thor Sport Racing mechanics, and he's also their decal guy. So pretty cool to have them here racing with the ASRS bunch. And let's see what we have going for us here in practice. Like you said, Greg Evans atop the leaderboard. Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine sitting second in this practice session. It's a 30-minute practice session that's wrapping up here in 3 minutes time. Will Worsler is Will Worsler Racing teammate and owner of that team in the third position there. Josh Weinrich in the number 61 Coca-Cola machine. We'll see him on the racetrack here tonight. He's currently being scored in fourth with a 29.193 second lap. And what about Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine, rounding out your top five? He was hoping to have a good run earlier this week in the ASRS series at Bristol Motor Speedway, but didn't end up with a good finish, unfortunately. It's Bristol after all. But then we have the first of our invitational drivers, Alex Pelican in the number 25 machine, sitting there in the sixth position. Great to see him up there. Then Troy Haight, Austin Hill, one of our others, Christian Eckes, like you mentioned, there in the number 81 machine, just inside the top 10. And then rounding out your top 10 is the number 8 of Jimmy McKee. But really, really good times out of some of our ASRS bunch, with Greg Evans leading the way. And Greg Rentz. Should be a really interesting race here tonight. Very, very hot racetrack. I'm looking at the current track temperature, 123 degrees Fahrenheit. There you see it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Current air temperature, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, but man, it's all about that track temperature. And from what I've seen here in practice, it looks pretty slick out there, Greg.
That's just going to get worse as the race goes on. Me and you have called some races with pretty high track temperature, and what was the common theme of that? Tire management, because the hotter the track, the slicker the track, the quicker those Goodyear tires go away. We've called some races where they had to save that entire set of tires for the entire length of the race. Not the case here tonight. They will be able to come in and change tires, but if you want to be competitive, you've got to make sure that you're conserving those tires and not burning them up, because once the race goes longer into the green flag run, those tires are just going to get more and more worn out, and tire wear could come in very, very key later on in this race, as the All-Stars are out here tonight for the ASRS, the All Star Showdown here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. 4 very special guests in the house, and they're all trying to knock Greg Evans off the top of the charts right now. Practice winding down, just about 30 seconds left in practice before we move over to qualifying. And Peter, what are you expecting from this qualifying session here? Who are some of the guys that you think may surprise someone and make a statement for the lead?
Well, you know, I got to say, Will Worsler, that guy knows how to qualify a race car. James Lorello has also been on fire in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. He's a little bit down the charts right now, but he could be a sleeper in qualifying and in the race. These Cup cars are very dependent on getting a little bit of draft to help your lap time. That number 3 machine right there is James Lorello. You know, some of these drivers might have just gotten a little bit lucky with the draft here in practice, but once the track settles down for qualifying, it is individual lone qualifying, so all these drivers will have to be fighting against themselves here in this qualifying session, as a checkered flag has been thrown on the practice session. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm expecting there to be a couple drivers who were quite low down on the practice charts jump up there towards the top, but you can't rule out the number 83 of Greg Evans. Been on a tear here recently in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series for the American Sim Racing Series on the Tuesday nights here in this series. But, you know, you can't route out Christian Eckes, Austin Hill, Alex Pelican as well, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here in this qualifying session. Of course, racing with these ASRS drivers for the first time, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to put their car on the pole here tonight.
Qualifying session is underway. Drivers coming out for their first of 2 qualifying laps. They have 10 minutes on the clock in order to get 2 good laps. As we see the number 28 of Troy Haight, he was up near the top of the charts in that practice session, as drivers now beginning their first laps. As they roll through the backstretch here, we see the number 98, Sam Maxwell. Sam Maxwell's Customs and Hacksaw PC on board the number 98, as he crosses the line. I believe that was to take the green flag. So drivers coming now, Peter, to take their first time lap, and we'll see how they are in relation to qualifying, as the first couple of times are now coming in.
Yeah, Will Worsler was on the provisional pole there just briefly until he got knocked off of it by Tyler Seville, and Seville ran a 29.291 second lap time. Very good out of Seville's Sliced Perky Pints machine as he is going down the backstretch. There's his teammate, the 29 of Will Worsler, dropping back now just a little bit to around the 5th position as you see the times on the left-hand side of your screen just trickling in. We'll see if these drivers can pick it up on lap number 2. Michael Krobach picked it up on lap number 2, as did Will Worsler, but Worsler unable to dethrone Tyler Seville. Seville also picked it up on his second lap. He is going to stay top of the charts for now. Josh Weinrich in the number 61 machine. Great run out of him in that Coca-Cola Chevrolet. He's going to jump to the outside of the front row. How about Sam Maxwell? The Sam Maxwell Customs man creates steering wheels for people. Make sure you check out Sam Maxwell Customs, although I think he's kind of put that business to the side for now. Sam Maxwell now kind of limelighting here as a race official for the American Sim Racing Series. He's in tonight's show, and he's third on the board. I'm sure he'll be absolutely stoked with that qualifying run. Jim Foose, of course, puts the league together. He's running an American Regardless scheme here this week in the number 42 machine. He is currently 17th on the chart. There you see the number 66 of Ed Bray, who somehow found a landmine at Bristol Motor Speedway this past week, and that machine right there. Glad to see the crew put it all back together, and he's back here on the racetrack here tonight. But right now, Tyler Seville looking pretty good. But remember, Greg, last Thursday night, we actually had a qualifying race to get into this show. A couple of drivers got invites. Of course, then we had our invitational drivers, real-world drivers like Christian Eckes and Austin Hill, who were invited to come into this race. But we had a qualifying race, and 4 drivers in tonight's show qualified their way in. Doug Mullins, Michael Whiting, Cody Spiker, and Jonathan Holstein. Those drivers are in tonight's show because of how they finished. Now, what I heard, I didn't get to watch that race, but I heard there was a little bit of drama towards the end. Travis McDaniel and Danny Rogers getting together. They would have been in tonight's show if it wasn't for the fact that they had a collision towards the end of the race, racing each other very, very hard. And I'm sure they're both bummed to be watching on the sidelines. If you're in the chat, Danny, if you're in the chat, Travis, make sure you make yourself heard. We will be giving shout-outs throughout the race. And if you're joining us here on 3Y TV for the first time, come on, make a comment in the chat. Give us a shout-out. We'll be giving all types of shout-outs throughout this race. But there you see one of the invitational drivers on the racetrack right now. This is Austin Hill in the number 16 machine. Of course, he races for Hattori Racing Enterprises. And he's halfway down the backstretch in that United Rentals Toyota Camry, going off into turn number 3 and 4 now. We'll have to see what is going on. We got Fernando Matos in the chat. Let's see what Austin Hill can do on lap number 1 there, Greg.
And Hill, actually, that was his second lap, as he's going to put it near the back. He's 18th right now, not the qualifying lap that Austin Hill wanted. Meanwhile, Christian Eckes, one of the other ones who we invited into town, he's up in the 4th position right now, behind Alex Pelican, one of the other invite drivers. So, invite drivers from the ARCA series, Alex Pelican and Christian Eckes. As I say that, they were sitting 3rd and 4th. Now they're 4th and 5th. Mitch Brown, one of the ASRS regulars, and one of the top guys in the series, I would dare say, is 3rd right now on the charts, as he just finished up his qualifying lap. Front row still Tyler Seville and Josh Weinberg, but a very close qualifying session here. 3 drivers within a tenth of each other in the top 3 in the 29.2 second bracket before we trickle down to Alex Pelican, Christian Eckes, Sam Maxwell, Will Worsler, and others, all in the 29.3 bracket. And Greg Evans, the 83, who was fastest in practice, he's sitting 8th on the charts right now. So Greg Evans, the guy that a lot of people were pointing fingers to as a guy who could contend for the win here tonight, gonna have his work cut out for him, as I believe all 30 drivers have taken time, Peter.
Yeah, every single driver has taken time. Now a couple of drivers still out there on the racetrack trying to get some extra practice laps in before the race. This is the number 87 of Jay Crable, the Glassdoor Brewing Chevy Camaro, going around the racetrack. There he is. But yeah, going back to the number 51 of Mitch Brown, sitting third on the charts right now. Last season in the American Sim Racing Series, that man swept all three of the main championships. He won the ASRS Triple Crown, won the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. He won the Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series last year and won the Cup Series as well. So it was very, very impressive to see the 51 of Mitch Brown pull that off last year, and he's going to try and do it again this year in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. So keep an eye on him. I know he wants to get to victory lane, and doing it here in the All Star Showdown will be a huge win, possibly the biggest win in Mitch Brown's ASRS career, Greg.
I think that title of biggest win of ASRS career would go to anybody who is able to put the car in victory lane tonight. This is probably the biggest race that ASRS has been able to put on here, this all-star race. You're not in this race if you're not a heavy hitter in this field here tonight. We've got so many great drivers from the ASRS in the field tonight, as well our 4 invitational drivers. We thank them so much for coming out tonight. This is such a big event. I think the biggest win in ASRS career could go for anybody who's able to park it tonight.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to some other people in the chats. We got Doug Mullins in the chat saying Will Warson Racing, Slice Pizza Bar, Porcupines. We got, of course, Fernando Matos mentioned him. He's a great guy in the chat. Pete Baskins also joining us, as well as Michael Kinder, rooting on the number 73 machine, of course, driven by Jonathan Holstein, who qualified in from last week's qualifier. But we got someone down on pit road, Nicholas Rees down on pit road, and let's see what he has to say prior to this race. What you finding down there, Nick?
Well, I'm actually ready to see what a bunch of these drivers' pit strategies will be. Of course, we can't exactly say that until later, where we actually see pit strategies take effect. So it's going to be interesting. Do you take 2 tires? Do you take 4 tires? Who's going to do what? We're just going to have to find out later.
All right. Thank you down there, Nick. We'll, of course, be coming back to you multiple times throughout the race to see what is going on and give us a little bit more insight into tonight's All-Star Showdown here. But we only have about a minute left. Every driver, I believe, has left the racetrack. The track falls silent for the battle to come. 200 miles, 134 laps. There is a time limit, although I doubt we will run into the time constraints. 30 cars will take the green flag here in what will be a spectacular show. I'm very much looking forward to this one, Greg. I know as soon as this was announced a couple weeks back, I was watching this very, very closely. I'm sure all these drivers have butterflies in their stomach. Tonight is a huge event.
Peter, me and you were among 2 of the most excited people on planet Earth when we found out that this event was in the works. We were so excited about the possibility of having an all-star race and giving the ASRS guys a chance to shine on the big stage. And here it is, the ASRS All Star Showdown right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I was so excited when I found out about this. A race to show who the best in the ASRS really is. All Star Showdown coming up. And qualifying has just gone final as the 10-minute time limit expires, which means the drivers are about to roll onto the grid, and we will be able to get this 134-lap, 200-mile show on the road here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tyler Seville with quick time tonight, so no doubt he's going to be very excited to lead this very, very talented field to the green. Let's go through the starting lineup.
And like you mentioned it, Tyler Seville right there on the inside of row number 1, starting from the pole in the Slice Porcupines Chevrolet, and starting to his outside will be Josh Weinrich in the number 61 Coca-Cola Chevy Camaro. We'll have to keep an eye on how that machine runs here tonight. Starting on row number 2 is your reigning Premier Series champion, the Patriot Media Marketing Solutions Toyota Camry of Mitch Brown, and to his outside, Alex Pelican, one of the Venturini Motorsports crew guys from the ARCA series. Keep an eye on that number 25 tonight. Starting on the inside of row number 3, the number 81 machine. It shows number 15 there, but keep an eye out for the number 81 on the car of Christian Eckes. That is the Safe Light Auto Glass Toyota Camry. And to his outside, Sam Maxwell running Hacksaw PCs in that number 98 machine. Great qualifying from Sam Maxwell. It's great to see him back here on the ASRS circuit. Will Worsler will be starting from the 7th position on the inside of row number 7. One of the other Slice Porcupines Chevrolets in the field. And starting to his outside is the ICD number 83 of Greg Evans in his Chevy Camaro. Glassdoor Brewing and the number 87 of Jay Crable will be starting in the 9th position, while Michael Krobach in the HPPsimulation.com Ford Mustang will start from the 10th position.
James Lorello in the SDR number 3, rolling off in the 11th spot. To his outside, the Cheerwine entry of Jared Haggerty. Good to see Kelsey Rogers back in the field. The one ASRS race I got to call earlier this year, he was not in the field, so disappointed on that, but good to see him back out there. To his outside will be Troy Haight in the 28, rolling off in the 14th position. Woody Mahan will roll off in 15th position in the HPP 84 entry, with Doug Mullins behind him in the number 18 entry tonight. Ed Bray, we mentioned him a little bit in the pre-race, rolling off next to Brian Yasick in the 15. Michael Whiting and NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series driver Austin Hill rounds out the top 20.
Yeah, of course, starting in the 21st position, we do have the number 24 machine of Alan Young. 19th spot to Cody Spiker. 23rd position, is the number 8 of Jimmy McKee, while Jason Stewart in the 1 will be starting to his outside on row number 12. Row number 13 is Tim Knott in the 41 and Jonathan Holstein in the 26. He was brought in by the qualifier last week. John Jenkins, very, very fast driver on the Cup Series side of things, not getting anything going here tonight, 27th. Nick Gardner is going to be starting in 28th. He's one of the Thor Sport racing mechanics. And rounding out your 30-car field is the number 20 of Ron Jute and the number 42 of Jim Foose in that American Regardless machine. But pace car is off. The green flag is in the air. 134 laps, 200 miles, and we are green at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tyler Seville off to a fantastic start in his Slice Porcupines machine. He's going to bring through Mitch Brown. Oh, big bobble there out of Christian Eckes in the number 81 machine. He got around Josh Weinrich in the number 61 machine, but here comes Weinrich halfway down the backstretch.
Weinrich getting the move on Christian Eckes, but up front, don't look down. Mitch Brown is coming from downtown on the inside, got the lead. No, Seville able to get the nose back in front and clear Brown. Seville leads lap 1 of the All Star Showdown as the top 2 break away just a little bit, going into turn number 1 side by side for the 3rd spot between Weinrich and Eckes.
Yeah, very, very tight there for that 3rd spot. Eckes got a great run around the outside and using the outside a little bit to his advantage to get that momentum down the back stretch. But Weinrich comes back here in turn number 3 and 4. They're still side by side. And like you said, this is allowing your front 2 to kind of scoot away a little bit as a gap is now forming between those 2. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Eckes and Weinrich can kind of sort this out. They finally do, and they now go single file. So we're single file all the way back to the 6th position where Sam Maxwell and Will Worsler are doing battle for that spot now. Worsler on the inside, trying to see if the 87 of Jay Crable can follow through with Will Worsler, because Worsler, I don't expect Worsler to lay back in this race. This is not a thing that Will Worsler does. That number 29 machine gets to the front as fast as he can. I've kind of come to know a lot of these drivers in the ASRS series, and I know Will Worsler, man, that guy is always charging up towards the front. Looks like he's got around the 98 of Maxwell. Oh, almost contact between Maxwell and Crable there on entry. Crable had to really roll out of it. He had the number 72 of Krobach in the HPPsimulation.com Ford Mustang tucked up underneath his rear bumper. They all had to check up, and we remain single file. Well, as I say that, here comes Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine. He just moved into the top 10 with a move on Greg Evans.
By Jared Haggerty, moving up 2 spots from his 12th starting position as he gets around Greg Evans, and Greg Evans is struggling right now. He started 8th, back to 12th now, so -4 on the speed charts for Greg Evans. A lot of people would have considered him the favorite entering tonight, and the things not going his way early in that beautiful looking 83 car, but unfortunately the speed just not there right now in race trim for him. Kind of a surprise considering he was on top of the charts in practice, just didn't get the qualifying lap that he wanted and struggling to get things going in the race as they're side by side in front of them. Michael Krobach to the inside of Jay Crable in the 72 and the 87. They're battling it out as Crable will get the spot for the time being as the field begins to settle in. Single file throughout the course right now as Tyler Seville up front has began to break away just a little bit from Mitch Brown, who's feeling the heat from Weinrich, who now takes a peek to the inside. Battle for second, Peter.
Battle for a second. Here comes Josh Weinrich. He actually has the fastest lap of the race so far in that number 61 machine. He tried to get around the number 51 to Mitch Brown, unable to do so for now. They go back to single file. Christian Eckes in the number 81 right behind him. We go on board with Eckes going through turn number 1 and 2 here. You see that little blue stripe there around the inside line. There's not a lot of grip if you hit that.
Trouble
we have
off the backstretch. Big wreck on the backstretch. Couldn't tell who was involved, but we saw Troy Haight in the 28 involved, the 3 of James Lorello involved. That happened coming off turn number 2. Just happened to catch a glimpse out of the corner of my eye. We go to the 3-wide TV replay. Here we see Haight and Lorello, and ooh, some contact.
Yeah, the 3 and the 28 got together, and Austin Hill in the number 16 machine also got a chunk of it. Unfortunately, the United Rentals Toyota Camry got some heavy left side damage. Let's see this from the aerial cam. The number 28 and the number 3. Oh man, looks like Haight might have just come up a little bit. He might have expected Lorello to be a little bit higher up on the racetrack. And you see that the number 16 kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time there, Austin Hill. Just got clipped by a spinning number 3 of Lorello. Remember, Lorello was my sleeper pick here. And let's see this from the front. Oh man, I don't know, the 3 kind of came down a little bit, and that's an interesting call, kind of a racing deal, 50-50, I would say, on that one. I'm sure both of those drivers will not be too happy. Yeah, man, tough break there for Austin Hill. He pretty much had that cleared if it wasn't for the spinning number 3 machine coming back up the racetrack. We'll have to see who comes down pit road. Remember, unlike the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, these drivers have unlimited tires tonight, so they can come down every single caution flag, put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on them, and we'll see everyone on pit road. I am sure so far no one staying out there on the racetrack, so just a few laps into this race, 10 laps in, and everyone coming down for the tires, and whoa, everyone coming out of the pit road now. Everyone had a pretty quick pit stop. That was right up there at the front. I'm trying to see whether or not anyone took 2 tires. Looks like everyone on my timing charts, everyone took 4 tires. So no one gambling here early on in the race, and that's probably a pretty good move. Wouldn't you say, Greg?
Absolutely. Track temp has gone up even higher than when we talked about it. It's 129 degrees, knocking on the door of 130. It's way too early, I feel, to be taking a gamble on 2 tires because we're just going to get eaten alive and get shuffled back. And with this aero package, with the Premier Series cars, it's so important to have good track position, especially this time of the race, because if you get shuffled back early on in this race, it can be very, very difficult to find your way back through. And with the track temperature as high as it is, I'm not so sure we're going to see anyone try to take 2 tires unless someone back in like 15th or 20th is able to catch a caution late in the going, like within the final 5 or 10 laps. With the track temp as high as it is, I don't foresee anyone really trying 2 tires.
Yeah, it might be something that you try and do at the end of the race, maybe once the track rubbers in a little bit, but definitely early in the race, I think it's safer to do 4 fresh tires. And the track temperature, let's see if we can bring that graphic up here just in a quick second, but the track temperature's actually risen to 129 degrees Fahrenheit, and the local time in the sim is 1:51 in the afternoon. So that is just going to get higher. Those temps are just going to continue to go up as the sun continues to beat down here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But there you see the field, all 30 cars still running. James Lorello in the number 3 machine still on pit road getting some damage repaired. Austin Hill in the number 16 also getting as much damage repaired as possible. He's going to roll out of his pit box right now. We'll see if he can catch up to the back of the field before we go green. I don't think he will be able to, so Austin Hill might be needing another caution here. There he is, just going past the pit road exit line. There's Lorello still in his pit box, already being scored one lap down. Got to give a shout out to some of the people in the chat. We got Aunt Kathy Rose, Richard Fletcher also in there. Aunt Kathy just asked if there was any fast repairs. There are no fast repairs here tonight, as well as Mark Cohn, the DMLC Racing channel in the chat. But the green flag is back in the air. The number 11 of Tyler Seville gonna lead us down once again. Oh man, a couple drivers there changing lanes, trying to prevent cars from getting around him. We got this side-by-side battle now for the third position. These two still doing battle. Josh Weinrich on the inside, Christian Eck is around the outside.
Yeah, just like the initial start of the race, Josh Weinrich really struggled getting going on the outside lane, and we've kind of seen that become kind of a trend with these Cup cars, these Premier Series cars. The outside lane seems to really struggle get going. I've noticed here on the sim and various races that I've been fortunate enough to call, and kind of a common thread with the outside lane getting going, but we saw it out of the 61 of Josh Weinrich. He was able to really get back going after a couple laps. Oh, some contact with Christian Eckes. That's not going to help, though, as contact between him and Eckes shuffles him back as Pelican is able to get around him as well. Here comes the 29 of Will Worcester. The 61 of Weinrich is able to settle it down. Mitch Brown has taken the lead from Tyler Seville. That 51 is a rocket ship on the short.
Yeah, let's watch this replay coming out of turn number 2. We were focused on the almost out of control number 61 machine, but Mitch Brown just dove it down to the inside of the racetrack, got a huge run off of turn number 2, and has taken the lead in the Patriot Media and Marketing Toyota. Up at the front here, a little bit further back, this is Jay Crable doing battle with the number 83 of Greg Evans. Evans on the inside, be right on board with the number 98 of Sam Maxwell, the Hacksaw PC's Ford Mustang. You see them side by side going across the start-finish line there, and I'll tell you what, the number 83, keep an eye on that guy. He knows how to save his tires better than I think anyone in this field. So if we can get a long green flag run, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that jet black number 83 Chevy Camaro work his way up to the field. But Christian Eck is in the number 81 machine. He's actually now starting to close in on the back bumper of Tyler Seville in the Slice Porcupines number 11. So I got to keep an eye on him. Of course, Alex Pelican in the number 25 now sliding up into the 4th position after Weinrich's out of control moment out of turn number 2 just a few laps ago. And here we go a little bit further back in the pack. Ooh, the number 8 machine, that's Jimmy McKee all the way down to the inside of the racetrack, trying to go 3 wide on the number 98 machine. He thought better of it there. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we have had our first retirement of the night. James Lorello in the number 3 machine has taken it to the garage. But we have a still side-by-side battle. Haggerty's going to win out over the number 98 machine. But we have a battle for the 2nd spot. Here comes... Oh, this is actually for the race lead. It was for 2nd briefly, and now it's for the race lead because Seville got a huge run in the number 11 machine, and here he comes trying to take the race lead back from the number 51 of Mitch Brown.
What a move by Tyler Seville to get the outside lane going there on the battle with Eckes, and he was able to get the run on the outside of Mitch Brown. I think Mitch Brown might have been thinking, hey, those two are going to go side by side for a minute. I'm going to be able to settle down and get things going here my way. And all of a sudden, Tyler Seville's to his door. And now he's taking a peek to the inside here, going door to door through 3 and 4. Tyler Seville trying to get the lead back. Mitch Brown on the outside. Christian Eckes, Alex Pelican, and Will Worcester right there rounding up the top 5 right now, trying to figure out a way to get around contact. Greg Evans around. Problems back in the field.
Oh, that's the 72 there. Michael Krobach coming back up the racetrack. The 83 looks like he's done a 360. Caution flag is out for the 2nd time here tonight. And, oh, man, there's the 66 of Ed Bray. Looks like he might have got a piece of it. Let's see what happened here. And, oh, the 87 of Crable looks like he just got the rear bumper of the number 83 right there in the 2nd kink of the quad oval. And that just unnerved the number 83 machine and sent him spinning up into the number 72. Krobach in the 850simulations.com. I know he has had some rotten luck lately in the ASRS series, and here again tonight. Bad news for Michael Krobach. He's missing a front bumper, but second caution flag here tonight. Good job, I gotta say, by pretty much the entire field. Unfortunately, Ed Bray kind of had nowhere to go there, but good job by a lot of the field to avoid the 72 coming back up the racetrack.
One guy who's going to be very happy for this caution is going to be that number 16 of Austin Hill, because with him being stuck on pit road a little bit longer trying to fix some damage he suffered under that previous caution, he had lost touch with the draft. It was about 3 seconds off the next car in front of him. This caution is going to give him a chance to get right back up to the rest of the field. Austin Hill, the 16, currently being scored in the 27th position, caught a break. And now everybody coming down pit road. And Peter, really expecting anyone to take 2 tires just yet. I think it's still too early for that. I'm expecting everybody here to go 4.
Well, surprisingly, the second run of the night was equal in length to the first run of the night that we had. So everyone coming in, we'll see if anyone decides to take 2 tires, but right side's going on a lot of the cars right now. We'll see if these left sides get jacked up. Indeed, they do. We do have, maybe a little bit of contact back there. Was that the 72 of Krobach? And the 66 of Ed Bray. So things go from bad to worse for those two, unfortunately. So you see everyone rolling off, looking at live timing and scoring, everyone taking 4 tires, and a couple of other drivers looks like they're going to stay on pit road to get some of the damage repaired that they have, including the number 61 machine, Josh Weinrich in the Coca-Cola machine. He is going to stay in his pit box just a little bit longer to get the crew pulling out those fenders, but he's going to roll off back onto the racetrack. He's going to lose a ton of track position, was in the 6th position. Will Worsler in the number 29 actually had gotten through up into 5th when all that racing up at the front was going on. So Will Worsler now solidly in the top 5. Weinrich, it's going to be interesting to see just how far he falls through the field. Looks like he's being scored in the 23rd position as we speak. So it'll be interesting to see if he races his way back up through the field, because Weinrich has shown a lot of speed here in the early going, Greg.
Yeah, that was a tough break for him to get into that position where he had to get some damage repaired. But that 61, we saw how fast it was the longer the run goes, but he's going to be restarting on the inside. So I'm going to keep an extra eye on the 61 to see if those problems he had on the start were just the factor of being on the outside, or if that 61 is struggling on the short run. So he's going to have his work cut out for him, but this may work out in the long run for him. We know how fast that 61 is. We'll just have to see how it does in traffic, as some new contenders up there in the top 5 now. Well, not so much new contenders, but new faces up in the top 3 now. Christian Eckes will inherit the 3rd spot with Alex Pelican to his outside. So a couple of ARCA Menards drivers. Eckes, of course, the champion from this past ARCA season, moving up into the trucks full time now with Kyle Busch Motorsports, will start in the 3rd position with Alex Pelican in the 25. Believe Pelican is the one that took over the ride that Christian Eckes won the championship in last year for Venturini Motorsports, starting to his outside.
Well, looking a little bit further back in the pack, there is the number 98 machine, and that, of course, is driven by Sam Maxwell, and he's right in front of the number 28 machine of Troy Hay. Got a little bit of damage on that P&N water filters machine. He debuted that number 28 scheme earlier this week in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. There you see the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series winner from earlier in the week, the number 83 machine. Now he has some damage. It'll be interesting to see just how much damage Greg Evans has. He won at Bristol Motor Speedway without a front bumper, ladies and gentlemen. He had a modified at the racetrack, it seemed like, and still was able to come home with a victory. This, of course, is a little bit more aero dependent, so it'll be interesting to see just how bad the damage is on the 83, as well as the number 16 of Austin Hill in the United Rentals number 16 machine, whether or not he will be able to work his way towards the front. But pace car lights are off. We're going to go back to green flag here in a little bit. How about some of the drivers who qualified in from last week's Showdown qualifier? Cody Spiker in the number 19 Snap-on Chevrolet. He is actually inside the top 10 in the 8th spot. So great to see Cody Spiker there. Michael Whiting is in the number 22, is being scored in 16th. We also have Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine. He's been kind of working around the 16th to 20th spot. He's currently being scored in 20th. And Jonathan Holstein in the number 73 machine. He was the last of the drivers to make it in. He is actually currently being scored in the 11th spot, so just outside the top 10. But the pace car here gonna pull down onto pit road. That Ford Mustang pace car, see you later. And green flag about to be thrown, and the number 51 is already on the lap pedal. You do not have to wait to get into the restart zone here in the ASRS series, and he was on the loud pedal early. And look at that, Christian Eckes in the number 81 machine is going to slot into the second position right in front of Tyler Seville. So this is the first back we've seen Seville in this race. Be interesting to see what will the Clean Air do. And here comes Christian Eckes, ladies and gentlemen, going for the race lead in turn number 3.
Great move by Eckes to the outside. He's about halfway to the 51 of Brown as they come through 3 and 4. They're going to be door-to-door to the front stretch. We've got a new leader at the line. It's the 81 of Christian Eckes leading his first laps in ASRS competition. Alex Pelican now coming up on the outside of Tyler Seville to try to give some help to his Venturini teammate, as Pelican now moving into the 3rd spot. Eckes is going to clear Mitch Brown, move Christian Eckes, former ARCA champion, former Snowball Derby champion, to the lead here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yep, that number 81 clearing Mitch Brown coming out of the corner. Alex Pelican in 3rd. Oh, we have another caution here. We got, oh no, it's the number 73 machine, Jonathan Holstein, and number 7 of John Jenkins, both around here on the front stretch. And John Jenkins, I mentioned to him prior to the race that his number 7 Super Clean looked oh so super clean, having a little bit of contact there with Jared Haggerty, and then looks like Holstein right behind him might have got into it with maybe the 18 of Mullins. We'll have to go back and see if that's who that was. Maybe get another look at it here on 3Y TV. Indeed, it was. There is the 84 of Mahan, and yeah, it looks like it was the 18, excuse me, of Mullins, who wasn't able to check up in time. Looks like Holstein might have put on the brakes when he saw the contact right in front of him. That will give quite a bit of damage to John Jenkins in the number 7 Super Clean ride. And oh, there you go. You saw it get loose. I don't know if there was a little bit of contact in the middle of the corner that might have got him loose. I don't know if the number 6 got into the back bumper of Jenkins, but that number 7 was definitely unsettled. And unfortunately for Jenkins, a lot of damage. And this is your Hacksaw PC's Premier Series points leader currently over on the Tuesday night series. But he'll come down pit road, get as much damage repaired. But no takers on pit road this time, I don't believe. And I'm kind of curious to know whether or not anyone towards the back of the field is going to come down. I expect some of the cars with damage will come down. Be interesting to see if drivers like Austin Hill, who had damage from a previous accident, are going to come down. Yes, they will. So drivers on pit road right now: Jared Haggerty, Doug Mullins, Sam Maxwell, Greg Evans, Jim Foose, Austin Hill, Ron Shute, and Jonathan Holstein on pit road, as well as John Jenkins in that number 7. You see them all go to their pit box, and they're going to get as much damage repaired as possible. But I'll tell you one interesting thing. I believe we can go here. We have 107 laps to go. I believe we can probably only make it on one more pit stop if this race were to go caution-free. But let's see if we can go down and talk to our pit road reporter, Nicholas Reese. Nick, what have you heard about this race's kind of fuel range? How far can they make it on fuel?
Well, from what I've heard, Peter, I have heard that the fuel window here is approximately 60 laps here for fuel. So currently what we have seen, currently lap 28, and yeah, 60 laps for the fuel window.
All right, so very interesting to hear that. That would put us within the window of only making one more stop as this race continues on. Of course, that would make the assumption that it does go caution-free. We have actually had the second retirement of the night, and unfortunately, it is the HPPsimulations.com number 72 of Michael Krobach. He's going to leave. I'm sure he's very disappointed with that run here tonight. Just had some really rotten luck over the past few weeks here, and we'll have to see him on track in a couple weeks' time when we go to Richmond Motor Speedway and the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series here on 3Y TV. We got Comanche Official in the chat as well saying, let's go, McKee. Let's go number 8. So great to see a Jimmy McKee fan. We got Nikki Worsler always rooting on the Will Worsler Racing Slice Pizza Porcupine Skies. The 29, Will Worsler, the number 11 of Seville, and the number 18 of Doug Mullins. I don't believe Mullins got all too much damage from that contact. He did come down pit road to get as much of that damage repaired as possible, but for the most part, the fenders are looking on that Slice Porcupine's machine for now. But Greg, we're back under caution, third caution here tonight in the early going.
I'm honestly kind of surprised with the amount of cautions that we've seen, but at the same time, I'm not. I'm surprised that they have been this quick into the race, but we all know that cautions typically breed cautions no matter what the situation is. But I think I may have been expecting a little bit of a longer run to start the race, and unfortunately we just haven't really been able to get a good long run settling in. I'm wondering if the track temperature is playing a role in that with how hot and slick it is. It has gone down a little bit, so it is beginning to cool off a little bit, as I believe you've got some cloud cover coming over the sun right now, so it's not beating down directly onto the racing surface. But I was looking for a little bit of a longer run to start the race than what we've got, and that has led to a couple more cautions. So unfortunate so far, but I think we're due for a long run here coming up, Peter.
I'm sure everyone is hoping for a long run here. That's what a lot of these drivers love, when those tires start to give up just a little bit and it starts to get a little bit slippery. John Jenkins in the number 7 machine, he is going to fall down another lap here. He's going to be, I believe, scored 2 laps down in the number 7 machine as he's working his way back up onto the racetrack. Pace car lights have turned off, so we will be green flag here shortly. The number 81, Christian Eck, is in the Safe Light Auto Glass machine, currently sitting atop the board of this 30-car field. Now it's been whittled down to, unfortunately, 28 cars, with 27 of those cars on the lead lap. Quite a long way to go yet, 104 laps when we go back to green flag still left in this one. We do have some attempts at a green-white checker as well, so that could be something that will be interesting to see how this all plays out. Ford Mustang pace car going to dive back onto pit road. Hopefully can stay sitting on pit road for quite some time here. Hopefully we can get a green flag run in, but Christian Eckes will lead them down in the number 81 machine. He's on the loud pedal. He's going to say goodbye to the back of the field. He's going to try and bring Alex Pelican with him in that number 25 machine, the Venturini Motorsports man, and he will put Mitch Brown back into the 3rd position. Brown's going to cut off Will Worsler, and here comes Kelsey Rogers in the number 36 machine. He will be inside the top 5 as Tyler Seville in the number 11 just could not get going, and we're back to caution here as there's a big wreck on the back stretch. A couple cars involved, Jared Haggerty, John Jenkins, and Doug Mullins in the number 18. A couple of repeat offenders here from the last caution flag. In fact, all 3 of those drivers were involved in the last one, and let's see exactly what happened here. And Greg, looks like there was just a coming together on the backstretch. The number 18 machine getting involved there with the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. Here we go on the helicopter cam, and I think the 18 just washed up the racetrack. I don't know if he knew that the number 6 machine was even there. The number 6 there driven by Haggerty, and unfortunately John Jenkins in this one, just the driver who was innocent.
Yeah, that's a tough break. I almost want to say the 18 may have bobbled just a little bit right there. No. I thought I saw something on the chopper cam that I didn't. My eyes were playing tricks on me, but that's just a tough break. And look at Austin Hill just barely get through that in the 16. That was a great move by Austin Hill to get through that. And we're fortunate that that didn't collect a couple more cars. I think we're going on board now with the 16 of Austin Hill for this one, Peter.
Yeah, he was all the way up there rim riding and then came back down the racetrack and saw this happen right in front of him right there. He just dives right back down to the bottom of the racetrack. Good move. Sometimes that is the best way to get around an accident. Just get down there onto the apron as soon as possible. And the number 16 of Austin Hill now going to be up into the 23rd position. Getting a report from Nick Rees down there on pit road that we do have the number 87 machine on pit road. That is Jay Crable in the Glassdoor Brewing Chevrolet. He's going to come back onto the racetrack with 4 fresh tires. Interesting to see that. We also have Troy Haight in the number 28 machine come down. Remember that P&N water filter Chevrolet got some damage a little bit ago. But interesting to see a little bit split strategy here with a couple of drivers saying, I'm just going to come down on pit road and take some fresh tires.
Well, Peter, I want to talk a little bit about what I've noticed on the restarts. I talked about it a little bit earlier in the race, and the trend has continued. On the restarts, whoever is on the outside lane is really having a hard time judging when the leader is going to go, regardless of who it is. Initial start included, every single time that the green flag has fallen so far tonight, the driver that's in the 3rd position has been able to get into the 2nd position by the time they get to turn 1. So we are seeing a trend here develop, but now look who we got up front. Christian Eckes and Alex Pelican. Mitch Brown just fell victim to that very move by Alex Pelican to move from the 3rd to the 2nd spot. Mitch Brown has a shot at redemption now. So on this restart, keep your eye on the 51 because that outside lane car is at such a disadvantage on restarts here on the iRacing server because of the fact that the leader can go whenever he wants. Mitch Brown, he can gun it as soon as the guy in front of him, in this case Christian Eckes, takes off. So keep your eye on the 51 and the 25 very closely on this restart and see if that trend continues, because every single time so far, the guy starting in 3rd has been able to time the restart better than the guy on the outside lane starting in 2nd. That's just part of that advantage, I believe, of being able to be behind the driver that's in control as opposed to right alongside him.
Yeah, really, and speaking from my experience here in the iRacing simulation, starting from the 2nd position is the absolute hardest spot to start from because you're just watching, you're looking over and watching the leader for when that car is going to go. There's no restart zone. If you're new to the iRacing simulator, or you haven't watched many of these iRacing races, the leader can go when he wants to. As soon as the pace car pulls off, the track is fair game. It's not like NASCAR where there's a specific window. In fact, you can actually see the restart zone here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's modeled into the version of the racetrack. You can see those lines going across the start. There you see restart zone right there on your screen. So it's not like that. These drivers, they can go. And so you're kind of waiting on the leader to hit the pedal. And there are some drivers out there who just have a sixth sense, and they can do it quite well. But it takes a lot of practice and a lot of understanding, a lot of studying and researching the driver beside you. You might have to start next to them a couple times on a restart and get later in the race so you can kind of time it. But if you time it wrong, you can be black flagged. So that's kind of risk versus reward. Starting in 2nd is very, very difficult. And so we've seen that here tonight. So you know what? It is going to be seen again here, I do believe, on this restart. We'll see if they prove me wrong. But Greg, we're about to go back green because pace car lights are off once again.
Yeah, coming to a green flag, and 35 laps on the board right now, working lap 35, which means 100 to go, Peter, in this ASRS All Star Showdown here at Charlotte. And as we come through 3 and 4, Christian Eckes in the Safe Light Auto Glass Toyota in the lead right now. To his outside, Alex Pelican in the 25. Mitch Brown and Will Worsler, a couple of ASRS regulars, in 2nd. Good to see Kelsey Rogers back up in the top 5 with early leader Tyler Seville to his outside as the green flag falls. And there we see it once again. The outside lane struggling on that restart like you talked about with that big disadvantage. Mitch Brown able to get to the door of Pelican. We'll see if he can get the spot here through turn 1 and 2, or if Pelican can fight him off.
Yeah, Pelican up there in that number 25 machine. Good run here down the backstretch, but Mitch Brown is getting a lot of help from the number 29 Slice Porcupines of Will Worsler. That Chevrolet is working his way through turn number 3 and 4 right now. Got his teammate Tyler Seville right behind him. Kelsey Rogers back behind him. Alan Young, good run for that number 24 machine. There in the 7th spot. Cody Spiker in 8th. Tim Knott. And what about Nick Gardner back in the 38th position? Of course, Nick Gardner, one of the drivers, excuse me, the 10th spot, and he's the number 38 machine. Nick Gardner, the Thor Sport Racing mechanic, and got Carolina Nutt on that Chevy Camaro, working his way coming out of turn number 4 right now. Brian Yazik racing with him, but back at the front, Mitch Brown was able to secure that 2nd position from Alex Pelican, and Mitch Brown, we'll see if he can close in on Christian Eckes here.
Eckes leading the way right now with Brown to his outside. Will Worsler to the inside of Pelican. Now the first side-by-side battle going on here in the 3rd position with Pelican and Worsler right now. Brown getting a run on Eckes in front of it as Seville kind of hides in the 5th spot, just waiting to see what happens between Pelican and Worsler. As Worsler's going to clear, move Will Worsler into the 3rd spot. For the time being, he's got Seville with him. Meanwhile, back in the pack, drivers all over the track fanning out below the apron. Still battling here. Kelsey Rogers creeping into the picture as well. The side-by-side continues for the now 4th spot as Worsler clears Pelican and Seville follows suit.
Yeah, Tyler Seville trying to follow his teammate through to get up into the 4th position. Doesn't seem like the outside groove has come in just yet. Will Worsler's gonna sneak underneath the 51 machine of Mitch Brown. Side-by-side battle now brewing for 2nd, as Pelican's gonna hold off Tyler Seville for now. We'll see if Brown can hold off the 29 of Worsler. They're tight through turn number 3 and 4. They're tight with close proximity. And Worsler's gonna slot in behind Brown. So I think some of these drivers are trying to use a higher groove just a little bit. You see Brown still, once again, he's using that middle groove. Worsler's gonna slide in underneath him. This is allowing the Safe Light Auto Glass number 81 of Christian Eckes to just scoot away just a little bit up at the front. And that Toyota Camry is looking nice and clean. It's got a matte black paint scheme. Of course, iRacing recently added spec mappings to the paint scheme options. It's great to see a couple of cars in this field using them. We've got the matte black number 81. As Brown's still holding on to the 2nd spot. We got a side-by-side battle brewing for 5th between Tyler Seville and Kelsey Rogers. Rogers starting to make some noise in that machine. So some great racing here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's one of the best racetracks in iRacing, in my opinion, Greg. This racetrack always puts on a show. And what about Cody Spiker? Raced his way in last week, and now he's trying to get the 6th position in that Snap-on Chevrolet.
The jockeying for position from 2nd to 6th was able to allow Cody Spiker to get up into the mix, had the position at the line, but Rogers gets it back as things settling down for the time being. But that has allowed this 2nd pack of Spiker, Alan Young, Tim Knott, and Brian Yazik to catch up to the rest of the field. So now what was a 5-car battle for 2nd through 5th has suddenly turned into a freight train, 10+ cars in it. But now the jockeying begins to pick up once again as Seville once again to the outside of Pelican. Kelsey Rogers is there in the 35. We'll see what happens here with the field as Seville backs out of it to settle back in behind Pelican as Worsler now beginning to peek to the outside of Mitch Brown in front of them. So perhaps a battle for 2nd on the horizon, and this is all going on in the mirror of Christian Eckes.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about that number 81 machine leading the way. He's got 2 things going for him right now. A, he's got clean air on the nose of that Safe Light Auto Glass Toyota Camry. But B, he's got some drivers right behind him racing very, very hard. I wouldn't be at all surprised, Eckes being a smart driver, if he's just starting to maybe think about conserving a little bit of tire. This is the longest green flag run I do believe we've had in this race. If it isn't, then it almost is. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's just saving a little bit of tire, thinking about what might be to come. But as I say that, the 51 machine of Mitch Brown was shot out of a cannon and pulled all the way back to the rear bumper of Eckes' number 81.
Brown able to get a good run on Eckes as the side-by-side battle picks up again for the 4th position. Seville inside, Pelican outside. Kelsey Rogers riding with the 11 of Seville, who clears Pelican for the spot. But, Peter, I'm noticing something watching this battle beginning to brew for the lead. Mitch Brown is taking a much higher line than the rest of the field. Worsler kind of riding in his tire tracks this time around as opposed to the previous laps. But Mitch Brown is running way outside. He's hunting. He's searching for some clean air to try to get a shot at Christian Eckes for the lead right now.
Absolutely. Mitch Brown trying to close in, and we got to keep an eye on the number 29, Will Worsler, who we ride on board with right now. 4th spot now does go to the 11 of Seville. Like you said, Kelsey Rogers now up into 5th. Alex Pelican sliding back a little bit. Remember, if you've been watching the American Sim Racing Series here on 3Y TV for quite some time, Alex Pelican actually, Tim Knott going down all the way on the inside of the racetrack, and great save out of that driver right there. We'll have to see what happened here on the 3Y TV replay. Racing with the 55 of Brian Yazik. Yazik on the inside of the HPPsimulations.com Ford. What happened here coming out of turn number 2? Looks like he just clipped the wall a little bit, and a huge slide all the way down there on the inside of the racetrack. Great job to save it. Will Worsler in the number 29 machine, he had some problems there, and that's going to open the door for his teammate Tyler Seville and Kelsey Rogers to try and take the 3rd and 4th positions. Looks like, and Alex Pelican almost hit the wall. Let's see what happened here to the number 29 machine of Will Worsler. And definitely might have scraped the wall there and checked up his run, and you can see he lost a couple spots out of it. Alex Pelican, the big loser out of all that mess, he's going to slide all the way back to 7th. Now got the number 24 of Alan Young to his inside. So Alex Pelican, I was just about to say this, guys. Alex Pelican, he actually raced in the Premier Series last year and had a few fantastic results in last year's season. Got numerous top 5s: Kentucky, Eldora, Atlanta, Daytona. Those 4 top 5s on the season, finished around the 20th spot in points, just outside of the top 20 and 22nd. So he knows how to get it done with the American Sim Racing Series. He's raced here before. Great to see him back in a race car. He now coming out of turn number 4. As we look a little bit further back, there's Nick Gardner and Jake Crable racing side by side. Looks like Crable's going to take that spot in the number 87 machine. Now I need to keep an eye on the number 87 machine because I believe he's one of the drivers who possibly has a little bit fresher tires than some of these other cars. So he's got 19 laps on his tires. A lot of the cars around him have about 10 or more laps. So it'll be interesting to see if Crable can work his way through the field. Greg Evans has 25 laps on his tires, so he has 7 lap fresher tires than Christian Eckes, who raced leader, and he has worked his way up into the top 10. Remember, Greg Evans, he actually has damage from a prior accident in this race, got up into the number 72 of Krobach, which ended Krobach's night, but we do see Greg Evans working his way up through the field here, Greg.
Greg Evans making his way back through the field slowly but surely inside now of Pelican. This will be for the 8th position. He's got him at the line. Greg Evans back to where he started in the 8th position after getting caught up in that accident, trailing behind Alan Young now in the 24, trying to work his way through the field. Back on the outside comes Pelican as he's trying to get some help now from the 8 of Jimmy McKee. Brian Yosik, who caught the wall earlier in that whole shebang with Pelican, when he almost caught the wall and lost all those spots, Yosik slammed the wall behind him, and that dropped him back all the way outside the top 10. He's trying to settle it back down. Look who else is beginning to creep back into the picture, Peter, behind them. Josh Weinrich back up into the 12th position now, going to work on Yosik for 11th.
Yeah, the number 61, we saw a lot of pace out of him early in the race. Great qualifying lap time by that Coca-Cola number 61. And here he is to the inside of the number 55 of Yazik. They're side by side coming out of turn number 4. But really, it's a logjam out there on the racetrack from about 5th position on back. Cody Spiker in the number 19, he's now up into the 6th spot. What can he do with the top 5 cars? Remember, Cody Spiker, he got in from last week's race being a top 5 finisher in the qualifier race for this one, kind of the open race, so to speak, for the ASRS All Star Showdown. A great run so far for Spiker. He qualified in 22nd. He's up 16 spots, the biggest mover in the race so far, and he's trying to take that spot from the number 29 Porcupine's machine of Will Worsler here in turn number 1.
He's got the inside on Worsler right now. Worsler was up as high as 3rd earlier in this battle. Now Spiker loses touch with Worsler, and he falls right back into the clutches of Alan Young, who's able to roll by on the outside. Great run by Alan Young on the outside. I'm wondering if Spiker perhaps had to check up a little bit coming off turn 2 there as he lost touch with Worsler, and Alan Young was right there to capitalize on it. But what a good run for Cody Spiker, getting up now 7th position on the charts right now after racing his way in through the last chance. So what a good job here by Cody Spiker. And Peter, we finally got a long run going right now. I think it's time we go through the field, starting with the number 81 of Christian Eckes. Took him a little bit to get up to the front of the field, but once he did, it has been smooth sailing for the 81, but pressure coming out the back window as Mitch Brown is beginning to creep back up into the picture. Peter, talk about what's going on in 3rd with the 36.
Yeah, the number 36 of Kelsey Rogers. He's done a good job of working his way up into that spot. Kelsey started this race from the 13th position, now running in 3rd. Like you said, great job just kind of slowly picking him off one at a time. And he has, over the last 5 laps, been losing a little bit of ground to the top 2, Eckes and Mitch Brown, both running just slightly faster than Kelsey Rogers. But this time by Rogers actually picks it up just a little bit. So we got to keep an eye on Kelsey as this run continues. Right behind him, the number 11 of Tyler Seville, tonight's pole sitter, led the first few laps in that machine. Has slid back a few spots. We'll have to wait to see what he can do as this race continues on. Remember, he does have the first pit stall at the end of pit road, which could be oh so important with some late race cautions if we get them.
Right at the top 5 is a battle between Will Worsler and Alan Young. Alan Young was able to get to the door of Will Worsler in the previous corner, but things have settled back down now. Will Worsler, up as high as 3rd, was knocking on the door for 2nd. He may have got 2nd for a second, but now Alan Young coming back on the inside. This is the first battle on the track right now. It's for 5th position. Young inside, gets the nose in front, just like last turn though, through 3 and 4. Will Worsler was able to use the outside to get up and get around the 24 of Alan Young as they catch back up to Seville. And the guy in 7th, who's got to like what he's seeing right now, is the 83 of Greg Evans as he's beginning to creep back up there. He's up to the 7th spot now as he has gotten around Alex Pelican. And Pelican got up to 2nd, but got shuffled back on a restart, being stuck on the outside, and just hasn't been able to recover yet in that number 25, Peter.
Yeah, right behind him is the number 19 of Cody Spiker. We saw Spiker challenging for a top 5 spot just a few laps ago, but he is about to lose another spot here to the hard-charging Jimmy McKee. The number 8 machine is going to get around him and move up into the 9th position. Josh Weinrich will also get past Cody Spiker, so he will now be back inside the top 10 of that number 61. And we mentioned Weinrich just a few laps ago inside the top 10, inside the top 5 in the early laps. Got a little bit of damage in an earlier incident, and now back inside the top 10 and moving on towards the front. Right behind this group is the number 22 of Michael Whiting. Whiting was one of those drivers who got in last week in the ASRS All Star Showdown open race, and he's doing a pretty good job of using it as we have a battle for the race lead. Oh, contact! Great save by Christian Eckes. Eckes was completely sideways in the Safe Light Auto Glass Toyota Camry, and he shows us how it's done sliding through turn number 3. We'll go back and see this on the replay. The battle for the race lead is raging on. We'll see. There's just a little bit of contact. So the 51 and Mitch Brown looks like he just was going to arc it in a little bit later. They gave each other room. They saved it. And here we go. This is live. Battle for the race lead now side by side. We'll have to see if there's any contact this time. I don't think so. Mitch Brown going to stay on the inside, and Eck is going to use that outside to power back around Mitch Brown and clears him coming out of turn number 4. But that was a fantastic save, Greg.
That is showing why Christian Eckes is the ARCA champion. That's showing why he's a former Snowball Derby champion. Why he's driving for Kyle Busch in the Truck Series. This kid has talent. To be able to save that car, he was acting like he was over on the dirt track across the street from here right now as he was making that save, and he held on to it. Not only did he hold on to it, he held on to the lead. Mitch Brown coming back at him to take another shot. 2 Toyotas going to work. A Toyota drag race through the tri-oval this time by. Eckes led that lap up. Mitch Brown may have the preferred line here on the inside, has the nose in front. Eckes comes fighting back. This is where the outside lane becomes the preferred lane. Corner exit. Drag race once again down the backstretch. Side by side, no clear winner down the backstretch here as they go into turn 3.
And Kelsey Rogers in the number 36 machine back behind. He'll be excited to see what he's seeing, but I do believe Mitch Brown, has cleared him. Boy, that was tight. And Eckes is going to do the crossover move here, going across the start-finish line. Now Eckes on the inside. Great racing for your race lead here as we have just about, we have gotten to the halfway distance. So the 51 of Mitch Brown, though, going to hold on to the race lead. And that number 51, your reigning Hacksaws PC's Premier champion, has gotten to the front here at Charlotte Motor Speedway over Christian Eckes. Great battling between those two. But I'll tell you what, Greg, we are probably only about 14 to 16 laps away from green flag pit stops. And we'll go down to our pit road reporter, Nick. I think a lot of these crews are getting ready for pit stops. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I was actually just thinking about that, Peter. Crews getting ready for some pit stops here. As you said, it maybe about 14 or so laps, maybe less, maybe more. We will find out here soon. I want to know, what do you think they are going to do? Are they going to take 2 tires, 4 tires? What's going to happen?
Oh, man, this is going to be 4 tires across the board. These tires have quite a bit of fall off. Right now, your race leader, Mitch Brown, ran a 31.4 second lap. That's 2 seconds slower than the fastest lap Mitch Brown has run in this race. So that is just showing the amount of fall off. And you guys just briefly got to see the track temperature at 123 degrees Fahrenheit. It is still very, very hot on the racetrack. It's actually cooling off a little bit as the sun continues to set. We have got a little bit of cloud cover. That will help with the grip levels. But we have seen just how slick it is here tonight. But Greg, one thing that kind of sets apart a good iRacer from not a good iRacer is getting to pit road. And we might just find out how good Christian Eckes is getting to pit road here in about 15 laps.
How about right now? He's on pit road, second place. Christian Eckes saw him slowing down in turn 3, so I started keeping my eye on him, seeing if he was going to come in. Yes, he is. So Christian Eckes perhaps on the short pit strategy to try to get himself back in contention here, because he lost a lot of ground to Mitch Brown in about half a lap. So I started wondering if he was going to pull in, and he did. Kelsey Rogers almost ran him over rolling into pit road, but the 81 who has led a big chunk of the middle portion of this race, bringing the field down pit road, Kelsey Rogers realizing, you're not going to get advantage of tires on me. Kelsey Rogers coming down now from the second position.
So we heard that the pit window was approximately 60 laps. Eckes pitted with 63 to go. Kelsey Rogers pitting with 62 laps to go. So that is a little bit short of the window that we kind of approximated, but it was an approximation. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Will Worser in the 29 machine, he has peeled off to come down pit road. It's a pretty tricky pit road to get to, Greg. And I'll tell you what, this racetrack has something that other racetracks don't have, and that is the pit wall there that you have to watch out for. Austin Hill on pit road, Jimmy McKee, Cody Spiker, the number 19, the number 8, and the 16 coming down at pit road speed. Will Worser will take 4 fresh tires. So great to see some different strategies out there on the racetrack now. We do have drivers like Doug Mullins, Jay Crable, Troy Haight. They can still go about 20 more laps or so. we'll have to see if they decide to kind of play the long game and see if they get a caution as we have another slew of cars coming to pit road.
Cars coming through the field, and I'm watching the 81 of Eckes and seeing what these fresh tires are doing as opposed to the old tires. And Christian Eckes is slicing and dicing through the field to try to get as much ground as he can. Mitch Brown is just now coming down. That was about a 4-lap differential, Peter. 4 laps with the way the tires have been, 123-degree track temperature. How much of an advantage do you think Christian Eckes has right now, and how much of an advantage do you think Mitch Brown will have once the tire wear starts settling in?
Well, I'll tell you what, Eckes has been out there running about 2 seconds faster per lap than Mitch Brown. I mean, that is 8 seconds over 4 laps. Eckes did slide through his pit box, so that will help out Mitch Brown. Oh man, almost a contact there between the 81 and Woody Mahan, but they were able to keep things going. Mitch Brown down and off pit road in the 51. And Jim Foose there in the number 42 machine. Haven't really mentioned the American Regardless machine tonight of Jim Foose. He's got a little bit of damage to that car, unfortunately. And Christian Eckes has blown past Mitch Brown in the number 51 Patriot Media Marketing Solutions machine right now. We'll give you kind of the differential right now. Christian Eckes, at the line now. Mitch Brown is at the line now. So that is, I didn't have a stopwatch out. I can tell you, based off of live timing and scoring, that Christian Eckes is about 5 seconds ahead of the 51 of Mitch Brown after that was all said and done. I think that was just due to the fact that Eckes slid through his pit box, so lost a couple of seconds. That's why Mitch Brown is a little bit closer than the 8 seconds that I mentioned. But now, a lot of these cars out there having to fight with some very heavy traffic, especially those cars on fresh tires.
Peter, I'm watching the 51 of Mitch Brown right now because I noticed not only did Christian Eckes get around him, the 36 of Kelsey Rogers also got around him, but the 51 of Brown is on much fresher tires than those two, and we're seeing it right now. The advantage that Brown has with Kelsey Rogers because he was able to catch up to him really quick. Brian Yasek was the leader. I believe he's coming in now. Wow, what a move by Mitch Brown to try to get around the 19 of Spiker. That is for position right now, the 51 and the 19. This is for position as well, the 36 of Kelsey Rogers. Yasek on pit road now from the lead. So, actually, no, he's still out there. I thought I saw him slowing down to take the lead. Take pit road. He is still leading. And the second place car right now is the 41 of Tim Knott. So still have, I believe, 8 drivers have not yet pitted here to complete this cycle of green flag pit stops, with Brian Yasek leading the way. But the dominant car so far, Christian Eckes in the 15, slicing through the field right now, 23 seconds back right now. He is the first car to not pit. Then is Will Borsler, Kelsey Rogers, and Mitch Brown. But remember, Brown was the last of those cars to pit from the lead. So we'll see right now as a pass by Mitch Brown on Kelsey Rogers. So he is able to get one spot now. So the fresher tires showing dividends right now for the 51 of Brown.
Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine will peel off the racetrack, come down pit road. He's actually one of the drivers who could have gone about another 12 laps. Brian Yasek, Tim Knott, Woody Mahan, all of those drivers now going to turn their 62nd lap on their current set of Goodyear Eagles. So kind of showing us possibly what the window is. I expect Yasek, Knott, and Mahan to push their cars just as far as they can go on fuel, but very interesting to see a couple of different strategies going on right now. There you see Woody Mahan and Tim Knott, the 84 and the 41. That's actually a battle between those two cars because Tim Knott is now in the second position on the racetrack behind Brian Yasek in the 55 HPP Simulation. And here comes Woody Mahan in one of the HPPSimulation.com machine. He's got a color chrome effect on that 84 machine this week. He's kind of got a shimmer to that number 84. The The purple is kind of popping on that machine. Great to see that. Kind of one of those all-star schemes that you see in these all-star showdowns. That man right there, the 55 Brian Yazik, also has an all-star paint scheme. That gray is not common to that race car. If you watch us here on the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Series on Tuesday nights, we got Timothy Austin in the chat saying, "Let's go, Tyler," as Tim Knott's going to peel off the racetrack. Got Mahoney PI as well. Ian Green saying, "My buddy John Jenkins just can't buy a break." And just tune in on Tuesday nights. Ian, John Jenkins is leading the points in our Tuesday night series here for the American Sim Racing Series. And as this pit sequence continues to cycle on through, Christian Eckes is now up into the 6th position. But Will Worsler is fairly quickly closing in on the number 81 machine there. Greg?
In that tire differential right now, Christian Eckes was the first car to pit. I wonder, Peter, if Christian Eckes pitting as quick as he did kind of threw everybody off their strategy, and I'm wondering how many drivers were intending to stay out there longer than they wound up staying out, because Eckes pulled in about 15 laps before the end of the fuel window. So I'm wondering how many of these drivers pitted not out of strategy but out of necessity, because they knew how much faster Christian Eckes was going to be with him leading the charge down. We're still seeing 4 drivers have not pitted. Brian Yazik continuing to lead the way right now. So Yazik, I think he's just staying out there leading as much laps as he can, and he's hoping that perhaps this race stays green the rest of the way, because I think if he was to stay out for a few more laps, which he's going to stay out another lap here, if they can go the rest of the way in that 55 cam, we're not sure that the 81, the 51, the 29, they're on the bubble of being able to go the whole way. We know once he pits.
Yeah,
Okay.
it might be a little bit tight for them, but Yazik has gone 67 laps now. He does have some caution laps, though. That will help with that fuel mileage. Let's see if we can go down to our in-race strategist, the driver who drives. Oh man, looks at 55, but Yazik just flipped the wall there. That won't help him in the HPPsimulations.com machine. But let's see if we can go down to our in-race strategist, the man who drives the number 52 in the Premier Series, Grant Brown. And Grant, seeing some different strategies out there, what do you think these drivers are thinking right now, especially those drivers who are staying out? Well, it looks like we can't dial up the driver of the number 52 machine in the Premier Series, Grant Brown. Oh, there he is, Grant. Well, Brian Yenzik's on pit road, but I'll ask you the same question again. What do you think some of these drivers who have stayed out, what do you think they're thinking? Do you think they're just praying for a caution?
Yeah, I think honestly they're just waiting for a caution here. As Yazik rolls out pit road, obviously his car was probably just getting a little too tight for him to handle. And I know during the race we're looking at a lot of the lap times, trying to see where we're at compared to fresh tires. And once you hit that cliff of, a second or so off the pace, you're kind of going to want to bring it down pit road until you get those fresh tires. Otherwise, you lose all that track position you gain by staying out.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Grant. We do have a battle on the racetrack right now. Mitch Brown has caught Will Worsler, and he has gotten around him. There is the Patriot Media Marketing Solutions Toyota Camry sliding up in front of that Slice Porcupines machine. Now Mitch Brown gonna go do battle with Christian Eckes in the Safe Flight Auto Glass number 81 machine, and Mitch Brown is flying through the field, Greg.
Mitch Brown flying through the field. Brian Yazik has pulled out of the race. Brian Yazik has retired. The race leader, who led about 15 laps in that cycle there, has retired from the race here. So tough break for Brian Yazik. Saw him hit the wall a couple of times, so perhaps the damage is too much to be done right now. And Brown and Eckes battling for second right now, but I've noticed who is in the lead. The 28 of Troy Haight, and remember, he has been on and off pit road quite a bit with some damage, so perhaps he can go a little bit further than these guys like Yazik. And so yeah, he's only gone 59 laps, so he can still go another 10 laps or so if he wanted to.
Yeah, the bad news for the number 28 of Troy Hay, he's watching the number 81 and the number 51 get closer and closer and closer in his mirror, because they are now less than half a straightaway behind Troy Hayes. P&N Water Filters machine. Mitch Brown, this will be for the race lead here in just a few laps. Once they catch Troy Haight, whoever catches Haight and gets past them first will be the race leader. And Mitch Brown in 51 underneath Eckes for that spot. Man, they have closed in on Troy Haight so fast. They've caught him now. And Mitch Brown using the number 28 as a little bit of a pick, and that will work. He clears Christian Eckes, and new race leader, the 51 machine of Mitch Brown.
Mitch Brown timed that perfectly, getting around both Eckes and Haight. Remember, Mitch Brown has 4 laps less tires, or laps on his tires, I should say, than Christian Eckes. So the 51 of Mitch Brown, 4 lap fresher tires than the 81 of Eckes. We saw how long it took him to get back up there, though, as Troy Haight does pull into pit road as he led a few laps, and he is going to be the final car to take cycles. So, Peter, depending on how he is able to get back in and cycle in, how much faster do you think Haight is going to be than the guys like Brown and Eckes? Because those two do have quite a few laps on their tires now. They are closing in on around 20 laps on those tires. Troy Haight coming off pit road now, only going to be 1 lap down once this is all said and done. How much of an advantage will Troy Haight have over these guys if we stay green the rest of the way?
Well, he'll have the fastest car. There's just not enough time. Whoa. Troy Haight. Oh, he's having problems. He's going through the grass. As we talk about that, he looks like just the number 28 just got unsettled as he was trying to come back out onto the racetrack. That won't help him. I was going to say, yeah, he might have the fastest car on the racetrack, but he just doesn't have enough time to catch up to the leaders. He might not even have enough time to catch up to the lead lap, and he might get a black flag for going above the line there just for a fraction of a second. You do have to stay below that white line until you're coming out of turn number 2. We'll have to see how the iRacing officials score the P&N Water Filters number 28 machine. He's definitely slow and off the pace still, which is a bit surprising. We'll have to see if he comes down pit road this time. But this is the battle now for the second spot. Will Worsler and Christian Eckes. Will Worsler has 2 lap fresher tires than the number 81 machine, excuse me. Troy Haight, I'm getting word, does have a pit road penalty, so he is on pit road as we speak. So that just absolutely ruins the number 28's day. Tough break for him. But it's going to be interesting to see 2 lap fresher tires on the 29. Can he get around Christian Eckes? Because catching them is one thing, passing them is another.
And passing so hard to do here in Charlotte. This aero package so dependent on clean air, and we're seeing it right now. The air is a little bit clean with the 29, but the closer he gets to the 81 of Eckes, the dirtier that air is going to get. And Eckes, meanwhile, is beginning to close in on Mitch Brown just a little bit with lap traffic lying ahead of these guys. So top 3 right now beginning to break away from the rest of the field. Lap 100 on the board right now, as Mitch Brown, the race leader, is given the lane by Jared Haggerty to pass through. Eckes and Worsler will follow suit. And Peter, while these guys circle their way through lap traffic, I want to talk about the 16 of Austin Hill. Had such a tough start to this race, has quietly worked his way back to the 12th position now. Just got around Michael Whiting in the 22 for that 12th position, trying to reel in Alan Young. Austin Hill struggling in this race, got caught up in an accident early in the number 16 Toyota, has really been off and on pit road quite a bit, and has quietly worked his way back into 12th position. Feeling the heat now from Whiting, as Whiting coming back now in that number 22. So good run for Austin Hill, good recovery to get back into the 12th position.
Yeah, absolutely. He does have his work cut out for him to catch Alan Young, because Alan is about 5 seconds up the road from Austin Hill, but definitely a good recovery in that number 16 machine. I am really watching this battle for the second spot, because Worsler, I think he wants it in the Will Worsler racing machine. Also got to give a shout out to Greg Evans. He hasn't quite been able to keep with the pace of the top 4, but he is in the 5th position right now in the number 83 machine. Great recovery for him as well after being involved in an early race accident.
Great job by Greg Evans. He was caught up in another accident like we mentioned. And also right behind him, Josh Weinrich, I believe he was caught up in that same accident as Greg Evans. He is back up into the 6th position. So drivers who struggled early with accidents have been quietly making their way back through the field and are in the top 50.
And folks, Will Worsler in the number 29 Slice Pizza Bar Porcupines machine. He was showing the nose to Christian Eckes there down the backstretch this past time by. He has caught Eckes and he wants to get around him. I know Will Worsler starting to see the Patriot Media Marketing Solutions number 51 just scoot off into the distance just a little bit. He does have quite a gap. Oh man, look at them just slicing and dicing down the backstretch. Will Worsler just trying to get a nose underneath Eckes, unable to do so, going to run a little bit higher groove. And folks, gets a little bit of clean air on the nose by doing that. Getting that clean air gives the car a little bit more downforce. And here he goes to the outside of Eckes, just pulls up to the right rear quarter panel of that number 81 machine, working his way through turn number 1 and 2. Eckes now down there on the bottom, shortest way around the racetrack. Worsler trying to keep it wound up around the high side. Looks like Eckes might have just hung it out a little bit coming out of turn number 2. Worsler unable to do anything with it, and Worsler going to stay in 3rd as of right now. No, he's going to pull to the outside. He did this last time by. Whoa, man, tight there coming out of turn number 4, but this is going to be the crossover move. Now underneath Eckes. Great battle brewing for 2nd, and I know Will Worsler, he wants to get up there to the back bumper of Mitch Brown to try and win this thing, as we are now down to 28.5 laps to go.
28.5 laps to go. These cars on the bubble of being able to make it if we stay green. What a battle we are seeing for 2nd between Eckes and Worsler. And Worsler, he's not intimidated by who that is in the 81. He is going all out right now, trying to get up and get away around the 81 of Eckes. Getting right up to his back bumper going into turn 1 there. Eckes able to get a little bit of a better entry, though, as they come through 1 and 2. But look at Worsler on exit. This seems to be where the 29 is stronger than the 81 is on corner exit. As we see him go off into turn number 3, there we see it once again. Eckes pulling out ahead a little bit as Worsler taking the higher line there. Here comes Worsler. Not as big a run that time off of turn number 4, Peter.
Yeah, not able to do anything just yet. We do have a big scrap now brewing behind him. This is the battle for the 5th position. And what about the number 61, Josh Weinrich? Remember, involved in that accident, we mentioned him earlier. He's now up in 5th. He got around Greg Evans. And here comes Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine, trying to get around Evans. So McKee, I think he's going to take that spot pretty easily. It looks like he will. So move McKee up into 6th. Great run here for Jimmy McKee here in the closing laps. Got to give a shout out to some of the people in the chat. We got Timothy Austin saying, "Let's go, Tyler." Michael Krobach says that the number 72 has been treated and released from the infield care center. Michael, I know I mentioned your bad luck. It continues here tonight in the ASRS All Star Showdown. Oh, contact. Eckes and Worsler getting involved with one another. And this could be a caution. No, we stay green. They save it. And Eckes is going to come down pit road. Let's see what happened here, Greg.
Man. Worsler, I think, caught the wall. Shot to the inside and net code. Oh, no.
Yeah, iRacing has been having problems with netcode, and it looked like that might have just got him. I know Worsler will be completely bummed about that. We'll go back and see if we can see this one more time. But watch the number 29. He ducks down, and they get really tight. There's not any collision between them physically, but just the movement of those cars as they go over the bumps. iRacing does some type of interpolation, some math in the background, and that little bit of netcode between them. There was no physical contact, but you saw it on the screen. Eckes and Worsler going for a complete slide. That will really help Mitch Brown. Good news is Mitch Brown up at the front in the number 51 machine. He's got a huge lead. Christian Eckes in the number 81 machine, unfortunately taking it to the garage in the Safe Flight Auto Glass number 81 machine after that contact. But that has allowed this man right here, the number 25 of Alex Pelican, to close right in on Will Worsler in the number 29 machine. So
Lot
that number
fresher.
25, yeah, I was just about to say that. Lap fresher tires on Alex Pelican. So we'll see if Pelican can now get around Will Wurzler. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Pelican can make that move and get a top 2.
Good run by Alex Pelican in the 25 truck. And Grant, you mentioned something about the 51 of Mitch Brown, and with this accident, do you think what you mentioned about Mitch Brown earlier could be even more so right?
Yeah, I think he's checking the relative, and teammates of his that aren't in the race will probably tell him, you got to save a little bit. You can see he's starting to get a little tight. The tires are showing their wear slightly right now in 3 and 4. He's taking a slightly wider line on exit, so it looks like he's trying to save him by not putting as much wheel into the.
And with that 5-second gap now, just about even more opportunity to save the tires, and that's good for him. And even better for him is the fact that behind him, Alex Pelican and Will Wurzler are side by side right now. And Peter, doesn't look like the 29 was affected a whole lot by the incident with Eckes there, but this is a case of Pelican just having so much fresher tires than the 29 of Wurzler.
Yeah, he has slightly fresher tires, and I know Wurzler did get a little bit of damage from that contact also when sliding through the grass down there. And Pelican's going to take that second spot pretty easily here in turn number 2. So move Pelican up. Now it's going to be interesting to see whether Josh Weinrich in the number 61 can run down Will Wurzler here in the closing laps. We do now have under 20 laps to go, 19 laps to go this time by for Mitch Brown as he hits the stripe. There is the number 83, Greg Evans, right behind Weinrich, and he's actually starting to make a charge. I wonder if Evans might have been just saving just a little bit of fuel or a little bit of tires because he was fairly slow. And when I say slow, he was about 2/10 off the pace of the cars in front of him. Now all of a sudden he's starting to come alive once again in that machine as he's got around Weinrich, now moved up into the 4th position. So can he close in on Will Wurzler here in the final 18 laps to go, I should say, as Mitch Brown is putting the laps behind him.
Mitch Brown just clicking it away. And right now, if you're Mitch Brown, you have 2 words in your head. Stay green. You want this race to go green because with 5.2 seconds and the amount of laps left, Mitch Brown, if this race stays green, this race is locked up for him, I would have to say. But if a caution comes out, that could change everything. If you're Mitch Brown, you are hoping and praying that this race stays green. 5.2 seconds, the gap between himself and the returning Alex Pelican. The 73 of Jonathan Holstein, a couple laps down, came in on pit road to try to gain some extra ground with those fresh tires, to try to gain a couple more spots by the end of this one. But right now, the 51 of Mitch Brown, he is cleaning house right now.
Your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion, Mitch Brown, leading here. He has a 5-second lead up at the top of the scoring pylon right now. Pelican right behind him, and really no one's closing right now on Mitch Brown. Looking at the fastest cars on the racetrack, you do have Ed Bray, Troy Hay, Alan Young, but those cars really have much fresher tires. They're on the kind of an alternate strategy, but Mitch Brown very, very quick out there right now. Alan Young in the number 24 machine, he is running in the 6th spot. And Alan Young is only about a half second now behind Josh Weinrich. So we have to keep an eye on the 24 machine right now because he is running over the last 5 laps a 31.246 second lap time. That's actually a little bit faster than Mitch Brown. So that number 24 machine is finding some life here late on in this race, trying to see if he can squeak out a top 5. And maybe he can even catch up to Evans because Evans is only 2 cars in front of him. We are now on board with the 24 of Alan Young. You see the 61 Weinrich right in front of him and Greg Evans right in front of that car. And look just how good of a run that number 24 gets coming out of turn number 2. I don't think Weinrich can put up much of a fight here, Greg. And it looks like Weinrich's just going to let him by here going off into turn number 3.
That was such a power move by Alan Young to get that run on the outside. We've seen that a couple of times out of the 24 throughout the course of the day. He gets a really good run on the outside as he gets around Weinrich to move the 24 of Young into the top 5, but Weinrich coming back to give it another shot. Greg Evans up in front of them, and you have to wonder if Alan Young has his sights set right now on that 83 of Greg Evans and is going to try the same move. And yes, it looks like he is, as he's going to get a run down the backstretch. This time he's going to go to the inside to try to make the pass on Greg Evans. He's to the inside. Yes, he is. So Alan Young gets around Greg Evans once again, and it's a shame that we have just the amount of laps left that we do, because Alan Young started 21st, now up into the 4th position, closing in on Worsler and Pelican right now. That's got to be tough for Alan Young to know you're one of the fastest cars on the racetrack right now, but just not enough time to get there.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on average lap time, and Alan Young right now, relative to Will Worsler, he's about 0.2 of a second faster than the number 29 machine. There's just only 11 laps to go, so that's about 2.2 seconds that he can gain if he can stay 0.2 faster than Will Worsler. Good news is he's only 1.8 seconds back. So Alan Young here, folks, if he can maintain the pace he's on right now, can get to the back bumper of Will Worsler. Can he pass him? Again, catching someone's one thing, passing him is another.
Yeah, tough to say right now with that 24 of Alan Young. He's so fast, has so much speed right now. I think he was one of the last cars to come down pit road, whereas Worsler was one of the first ones to come down pit road. So that tire differential really is still showing itself right now, Peter, as we've reached the closing stages. We're inside 10 to go, and if you're keeping track, the distance on the lead is growing. It has gone from 5.2 to 5.6 now between Mitch Brown and Alex Pelican. So Mitch Brown in the 51 putting on a clinic here in the second half of this race.
Yeah, we heard from Grant Brown, our in-race strategist, that he thought Mitch Brown might have just been saving a little bit, kind of managing his race by looking at his relative gap to the car behind. I think that's exactly what he was doing, because now he's starting to lay down the jets here. 8 laps to go as he crosses the stripe. Just 12 more miles around the Charlotte Motor Speedway in tonight's ASRS All Star Showdown. And how about this, folks? We had so many cautions early in the race. Well, they cleaned things up here, and we're near on a 100-lap green flag run. Great way to end this race. Now, I say that. Am I jinxing it? Well, only time will find out. I know that man right there, the 51 of Mitch Brown, does not want to see a caution as another lap has clicked off. We look back at Alan Young. He's now 1 second behind Will Worsler. We'll see what the differential is here this time by. It's now down to, oh man, this is really coming down. It's now to just under 0.7 of a second. Alan Young, folks, on a complete tear in that car. We'll have to keep an eye on this battle that is brewing. Back behind them, Greg Evans, Josh Weinrich, Jimmy McKee, and Tyler Seville are in a battle for the 7th position right now. Seville right behind McKee, and over the last 5 laps, Seville has been about 1/10 faster per lap in the number 11 Slice Porcupines machine. So we'll have to see whether Seville can squeak out a top 7 finish. Remember, he was the pole sitter at the beginning of the night here in the ASRS All Star Showdown. Coming out of turn number 2, he's got a run here, Greg, and they're going to be side by side going off into turn number 3.
A good battle going on here right now as they are door to door. Checking in once again, this is the battle for the 3rd spot as Alan Young getting to the inside of Will Worsler. Worsler, I'm very impressed that he was able to hang on to the car as well as he has been able to after the incident with Christian Eckes. Unfortunate that it was netcode that it was the cause of that, but Worsler's done a great job recovering, as I think he was able to keep the car relatively clean and not hit anything as a result of that. But we're seeing right now the tire difference between that and Alan Young's tires, and of course the slide that Worsler had in that incident probably didn't do any favors for those tires either, as we are inside the final few laps of this one, less than 5 to go, and Mitch Brown is putting on a show right now, up to 6.2 seconds over Alex Pelican.
Absolutely. The laps are winding down, and looks like the number 98 machine has just gone down a lap. Sam Maxwell in that Hacksaw PC's Ford Mustang. He is currently being scored as the 17th place car. We have 16 cars on the lead lap. Currently, the last car on the lead lap is the American Regardless Ford Mustang of Jim Foose. Kelsey Rogers, not been the last half of the race he's been looking for. I wonder if he got some type of a speeding penalty or something. Trying to see, remember, he was up there inside the top 10 solidly. And the number 36 of Kelsey Rogers doesn't look like he got a speeding penalty or anything. It just hasn't gone to plan for him in this last half of the race. He's doing battle with Cody Spiker for the 14th position, actually, as they seesaw back and forth. Let's go back to the Tyler Seville, Jimmy McKee battle, and it's not a battle anymore because Tyler Seville in the 11 machine has taken that spot as the white flag is now being shown for your race leader, the Patriot Media and Marketing Solutions machine of Mitch Brown. I'll tell you what, once he got the lead, he never looked back, Greg.
Yeah, Mitch Brown putting on an absolute clinic in the second half of this race. Battled with Christian Eckes for a majority of the first half and was able to get out front using a different pit strategy. 4 laps on the tires, the difference here tonight. Mitch Brown off of turn number 4. Cue the kazoo, he wins here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the ASA All Star Race.
Yep, and he is, of course, your reigning American Esports Association Hacksaw Premier Series champion, and getting this win here tonight is just going to add to his American Sim Racing Series credentials. Great job by Mitch Brown. Great run for Alex Pelican. Alexander Pelican was what he raced with last year. Coming home in second. What a way to return to this series. And Alan Young in the number 24 machine coming home with a third place here tonight. Great run for him. Had a great run going at Bristol earlier this week on Tuesday night in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, but wasn't able to get the finish he exactly wanted. But that man right there, the 51 of Mitch Brown, he got the finish he was hoping for at the beginning of the night, and he's going to burn it down here on the front stretch right there over the Stars and Stripes that is located at the start-finish line here. Great run for that man right there. And it has been an all-star showdown indeed. We saw lots of action throughout the night. Great recovery by Austin Hill, one of the invited drivers that we had here tonight. And great job by everyone, really, once we got past those first few laps, that long green flag run right to the end. Great job by these guys. But we're going to step away here for just a brief moment. We will let that man right there, the number 51, Mitch Brown, do his thing. We're going to line up a couple of interviews for you. We're going to talk to your top finishers here tonight. And, of course, your winner of your ASRS All Star Showdown.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one. 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration. Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tonight's American Sim Racing Series All Star Showdown, brought to you by the American Esports Association, has come to a conclusion, but we got some interviews lined up for you. And of course, the first interview is with driver of the number 24 machine, Alan Young. And Alan, welcome to the 3 Wide TV booth. I'll tell you what, it was really close there in the closing laps to whether or not you were going to catch Will Worsler. And I kind of said to the guys here in the booth, I said, you know, catching him is one thing, passing him is another, but you made it look easy. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried after qualifying. Didn't really have great speed, but I knew long run I'd have something. I didn't think I'd have a third place car, but I figured out how to manage my tires and stuff. And I had one of my teammates say had fallen out of the race, and he was just kind of telling me lap times and stuff. And he was saying I was the quickest car on track, so it felt kind of good. Just ran out of laps.
Yeah, it came up, a couple laps shorter, but you were the fastest car on the racetrack. You were actually faster than Mitch Brown and Alex Pelican. So had the race gone green for a couple more laps, you might have been able to run down Alexander. But I'll tell you what, great run for you here tonight. Of course, earlier this week at Bristol Motor Speedway, you had a great run going. Didn't quite go 100% to plan there towards the end. But how important is it to kind of bounce back here in the All-Star race, get a great finish in what was a huge event for both the league and you as a driver?
Yeah, it's definitely a big confidence boost. I was pretty bummed after Bristol because I felt like I had a top 10, maybe top 5 car, and it kind of all came crashing down. But this is definitely a confidence boost for me and my LA Sim Sport teammates.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to open up the floor here just a little bit. I'm going to bring in our pit road reporter. That is Nick Reese. And Nick, you got any questions for driver of the number 24 machine, Alan Young?
Well, I do have one question, and you did mention that you found a way to save your tires in a good manner earlier. And now I was just wondering if there were any other pit strategies that you were taking into effect.
Not when I first started. When I got up in the top 5, I knew pit stops were coming, so I was just waiting. I was going to go off either Will or Mitch and pit with them, and I came down with Mitch and Greg Evans, and unfortunately, when I left pit road, getting back up to speed, I got really loose on the apron, and it cost me a lot of time, so it was probably the deciding factor.
All right. Well, that's pretty much what I just wanted to ask you. But other than that, do you have any shout-outs that you would like to give?
I'd like to thank LA Sim Sport, John, Lee, Ed. These guys are a great bunch. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And this run's for them. We all needed this. Everyone who's came out to watch tonight, the NASCAR guys for joining us. I've ran against Austin and them guys before, so it was nice to have them guys here, and just Jim and Sam putting the lead.
All right. Well, I'm going to just give it over to Peter now. Thank you for your time in this interview. Congrats on a 3rd place finish.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alan, absolutely huge night for the league and huge night for yourself coming home with a podium finish. Great run. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time here on 3 Wide TV when we go to Richmond back in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and should be a good time there. Best of luck there, bud.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. I've ran good there in the past, so can't wait.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it as well. A couple of weeks' time, but let's see if we can go down and talk to our winner. Unfortunately, we do not have the 2nd place driver, Alex Pelican to talk to here in the server, but we will talk to driver of the number 29 machine. That is Will Warser Racing. Let's see if we can bring him up here quickly. Will Warser, Peter Short in the 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing pretty good. Long race for you. Just kind of lost out that third position there in the closing laps. Crazy night. Once we got those cautions out of the way, long green flag run there towards the end. I'm sure it was quite a lot of fun, but just missed out on a podium position. Tell us a little bit about your night.
It was a learning experience, Peter. I really did a lot better that last run on tires than I did the first run, but neither one was good enough. I didn't put a lot of time this week into this race, and it kind of showed. So the last thing I wanted to do was get into somebody, especially one of the NASCAR guys. I got into, I net-coded Christian. I went back and watched the replay. I thought the whole race that I hit him, but I went back and watched the replay, and it looked like there was some space between us. But either way, I didn't mean for that to happen, so apologies to him. But it was tough. With the package the way it is, at these mile and a halves, it's very akin to plate racing. And I don't think that anybody that watched our season last year would argue that Mitch Brown was the best plate racer. And he's really excelling this year. He's tough every week, and he came here and did what he had to do tonight. It was really a race for second place, especially in late stages of the race. And, with my damage with that deal with Eckes, I didn't have. I lost a little bit of time, a little bit of speed, and I didn't have anything. So I was lucky to get fourth, to be honest.
Well, the race did kind of stay green there towards the end. Were you kind of surprised that we got a long 100-plus lap green flag run in there after the early race cautions?
Yeah, I was. I figured that there would be a lot of ambition tonight and a lot of youthful exuberance and a lot of bravery, but there wasn't as much as I thought there would be. So it made for good racing, especially if he was Mitch Brown. he really laid a whooping on everybody, man. I'm impressed, and that was a good job by him.
Absolutely, coming home with victory by almost 7 seconds. But I'm going to open up the floor to Grant Brown, one of the other Browns, who drives the number 52 Patriot Media Marketing Solutions machine in the Premier Series. Grant, you got any questions for Will?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of wondering, as working with strategy through the race and kind of watching everybody come down pit road, all the different saving techniques they were using. How did you feel about how you saved your equipment towards the end?
Well, as far as when I pit, I figured that I would have a lap or two older tires, and it would be up to me to mitigate that over the course of the run. I'm usually pretty good at tires, but I'm not so good anymore at the mile and a halves. So it was kind of a gamble, obviously. It was a gamble as far as my skill set's concerned with these mile and a halves anymore, with the package that we have. So it was really just I was gonna undercut a little bit. Obviously didn't undercut the 15, but undercut everybody else and try to mitigate the tire difference. And it worked on most everybody. Alan Young really came on strong there at the end. I don't know what the difference was in our tires, but he obviously did a good job with it. Mitch obviously did a good job with it. Alex Pelican did a good job. So tires were the story with the way that the green flag played out there.
Absolutely. Well, great run for you, Will. Before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to Foose and Maxwell for putting this race on, and all the NASCAR guys that showed up. That was really neat to be a part of this. And give a shout-out to Perky Pints and Slice Pizza Bar, my sponsors, and my teammates. Doug and Tyler really helped me a lot this week practicing. And then give a shout out to Wayne Lowe. He helped out in practice, helped out with pit strategy tonight and stuff. And Tyler Seville really he was faster than what his finishing position showed. Man, he just, things didn't go his way tonight. But he could have been up there with Mitch if everything went right. Anyway, I thank my wife for watching all our races, and I'm sure she won't have anything good to say after tonight, but usually she does. So You got to think 3 wide also. As always, you guys are awesome.
Well, hopefully you're not going to be sleeping on the couch tonight after this one, but a 4th place finish for you, Will. We'll see you in a couple weeks' time here back on 3 Wide TV for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series at Richmond Raceway. Looking forward to it, but until we meet again, best of luck there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
All right. Well, folks, that was your 4th place finisher, driver of the number 29 machine. But let's see if we can dial up tonight's winner, the number 51 machine of Mitch Brown. Mitch Brown, victory lane here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You got the Triple Crown last year in the American Esports Association, winning the Truck Series, the Cup Series, and, of course, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. And now you have the ASRS All Star Showdown underneath your belt as well. Tell us a little bit about your night.
We just, take it lap by lap. Definitely had a strong car, especially like 20, 25 laps in the run. Definitely had something to compete for a win. No, we just took it easy. Definitely wanted to be out front because I knew it was going to be very hectic if you were in the middle of the pack. But I mean, can't say anything else. So we just went out there, put a whipping on these boys. That's pretty much it.
Absolutely, and I'm sure all that tight racing with Christian Eka has got your blood pumping. That was some fantastic racing there in the middle half of the race, and then, of course, a little bit different pit strategies for you, too. You pit a little bit later than he did. You had the fresher tires, and you were able to pull away. Just how important were those fresher tires in the closing laps?
Oh, definitely. They definitely helped out. I figured, I was going to pit, maybe 10 laps after I really did in the race. But once I started seeing the leaders go in, I had to definitely come in because I felt like the longer I stayed out, the worse I would have been. So definitely pitting right around when those guys pitted helped me out, and got to the front and eventually won the race.
Yeah, fantastic run for you here tonight. First off, I'm going to open the floor for Nicholas Rees. And Nick, you got any questions for tonight's racer winner of the 51 and Mitch Brown?
Well, first of all, Mitch Brown, congratulations on the 1st place win. And I do have one question. A lot of drivers were definitely taking pit strategies into effect during this All-Star Showdown. Were there any specific pit strategies that you were taking into effect?
Not really. We were just gonna, I was gonna try to pit around 85, 85, 90, but, once I saw the leaders or anyone else come behind me, I knew I definitely had to pit. And, it worked out because stayed out 2 laps longer than everyone else in front that was behind me, especially the 15 and the 29. Definitely helped out because I was able to make it the rest of the way on gas. No, not really. We were just kind of split it up into either halves or thirds the race. If we went green green the whole race. But I mean, that caution, especially around, I think it was like lap 30 or something. I can't remember. Definitely made things a little different. But no, not really. We just took it lap by lap and just played by ear, just to see when everyone else coming in, and then just adapt to it.
All right. Well, that's my question. Congrats on the 1st place finish.
Thank you, Nicholas.
And I'm going to ask Grant, do you have any questions for Mr. Mitch?
Well, first off, as your sponsor, big congratulations. And as well, being we raced Bristol on Tuesday, how big is the package difference with low downforce versus high downforce with the short tracks and the intermediate super speedways for you?
It's definitely a big difference, especially Bristol. You tend to get more. There's lesser downforce with Bristol. You tend to get more looser off the corner. Not a lot of aero push, really. Definitely a lot of aero push tonight. Especially if you were trying to pass someone on the inside, you would hit like a wall of air, and you would either slide up or get tight, especially in the middle of the corner. So yeah, it definitely was helpful to stay out front tonight and to try to either make passes quickly on the outside or just try to do them on the outside.
Absolutely. Well, great question there, Grant. It's always interesting to hear now that we do have two separate packages here in the iRacing simulator that you get to race, and two completely different packages, low downforce and high downforce. And it'll be interesting to see how that evolves as, of course, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series goes on. We'll be racing in 2 weeks' time here on 3Y TV on a Tuesday night, same time, same place. But, Mitch, before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Well, I mean, obviously, I got to thank Patriot Media Marketing Solutions for always sponsoring me. They've done a great job, especially Grant. He's one of the best sponsors I've ever had on iRacing. Really helps me out with a lot of things. Checker Flag PCs. Just bought a new PC about a week ago, and it just came in this week. So we've been running on the new PC lately. So check out Jason Stewart and Checker Flag PCs. Gotta thank local sponsors. Gotta thank Doug Dunleavy's immense sponsors everything in racing, whether it's real life or sim racing. I gotta also thank Mayhew Tools for sponsoring. And I also thank Splash and Go for painting the cars and painting the schemes for all of us at Dirty Bird Sim Racing. And I gotta also thank my company, Mod Chaser Media. If you ever need pictures taken, just hit up us off of Facebook. And I gotta thank, one more thing. I gotta thank you guys. You guys do an awesome job broadcasting these races. Absolutely fantastic job.
Oh, thank you very much, Mitch. We enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. You guys put on a show out on the racetrack. It really helps out, so we appreciate it. Congratulations on winning the ASRS All Star Showdown. We do have, of course, the All Star at the end of the season as well that we have to start thinking about. October, November timeframe. But at least for now, you can claim the All Star Showdown crown, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that is tonight's race winner, the number 51 of Mitch Brown, and we do have tonight's final rundown, the final race results, and why don't we go through tonight's final rundown? Of course, it was the number 51 of Mitch Brown getting the W. Alex Pelican, great return to the league, finished 22nd in Premier Series points last year, comes home second tonight. Unfortunately, unable to get an interview with him. Alan Young getting the third spot there in the closing laps away from the fourth place driver, Will Worcer. Greg Evans had a lot of damage on that number 83 machine, but still managed a top 5 finish. Josh Weinrich in the number 61, great result for him, had a lot of pace, started on the outside pole in the 61 machine. Speaking of the pole, though, Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine started there, and he comes home 7th. Jimmy McKee, 8th position for the number 8 machine. Woody Mahan in the number 84 comes home in 9th, and Tim Knott rounds out your top 10. Nicholas?
Yes, and I unfortunately did disconnect.
Oh, well, I'll continue on through then. Finishing in the 11th position, the 22 of Michael Whiting. And remember, Whiting was one of the drivers who qualified in from last week's qualifier, so good result for him. In fact, I believe he was the highest placed driver out of the drivers who qualified in from last week. Jason Stewart in the number 1 machine comes home 12th. Austin Hill, one of the Gander Outdoors Truck Series drivers in tonight's field, he comes home in 13th. He got a lot of damage early on in an accident. Cody Spiker in the number 19 comes home in 14th, one of the other drivers to qualify in. Kelsey Rogers, great run for him early, definitely fell off, though, in the middle to late portions of the race, coming home 15th. Jim Foose, league owner and organizer in the America Regardless machine, comes home 16th. Sam Maxwell in the number 98 Hacksaw PC's car comes home 17th, one lap down. Jay Crable, he comes home 18th. Doug Mullins comes home 19th. Nick Gardner in the number 38 machine. Didn't mention him all too much, but the Thor Sport racing mechanic and decal guy finishing inside the top 20 here tonight. Jared Haggerty will come home in the 21st position. Edward Bray, 22nd. Troy Haight in 23rd. Ron Shute in 24th. John Jenkins in the number 7 machine, 25th. Jonathan Holstein, 26th. Christian Eckes, after that contact with the number 29 machine, he did take that car to the garage. He got quite a bit of damage from that. Brian Yazik in the number 55 HPPSimulations.com machine comes home 28th. Michael Krobach, 29th. Those two teammates, Yazik and Krobach, they seem to be in a little bit of a slump right now, finishing 28th and 29th tonight. And James Lorello was the first retirement of the night in the number 3 machine. But Grant, any final thoughts? I said Grant.
You know, it was a good race. It was kind of cool to see how the strategy play out. Obviously, running with 90% of these guys on a weekly basis, you know, the little things you can pick up and learn is always good. So hopefully that helps me going into Richmond, as I was running a partial schedule earlier in the season, but we're full-time now, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the season with these.
Absolutely, should be a fantastic season. Nick, you got any final thoughts?
Well, what I saw out there was just amazing for an All-Star Showdown. Just gotta say good racing by all of the drivers out there. And yeah, it was unfortunate for Christian Eckes, who did unfortunately have a netcode issue with another driver. Not completely sure who that was. I kind of forgot there. But that is a terrible way to just lose a race like that when you had a high potential of winning. But yes, I do have to congratulate the winner, the number 51 of Mitch Brown. All the drivers along with him ran great, and those are my final thoughts. Peter?
Absolutely fantastic race. Enjoyed every single lap of it. We did lose Greg there. That's why I said Grant. But Greg is actually on a helicopter now. He has another race to go commentate at the Bristol Motor Speedway, so we wish him best of luck here tonight. But before we go, we do want to give a few shout-outs to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles. They got some big stuff coming up, so go check out SimTV, as well as our friend Thomas Morris from OCR TV for the graphics package. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, Nicholas Rees, and Grant Brown, and of course the man with the cameras, Mr. Carlos Acosta, we want to bid each and every one of you a great night. Stay safe. This craziness that's going on, you don't want it. Stay indoors. Do what you need to stay away from it. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for more American Sim Racing Series action from Richmond Raceway on a Tuesday night. It should be a great show in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, but we'll see you then. See ya!